the show that a lot of you have been waiting for, the show that I'm never sure how it's going to go, and the one show that I always find myself marking on my calendar. We have made it to the end of the year, which means we have our last podcast in 2021. And as many of you who are regulars to my show know, we go over everything that has happened in my year and what I've experienced, or things that I've learned about myself, or things that I am working to improve upon, leaving 2021 and entering into 2022. I'm not going to lie to y'all. we gonna go right into it like guns blazing and heads high. This year has taken me in every direction that it possibly can. And I'm starting with that demeanor, with that approach, strictly because as the end of November arrived, and as y'all know, I'm always good at giving like a quick story or a quick breakdown of like what got us here, at least to present the podcast being what it is. I literally recall and can remember being unsure how things were or weren't going to go with me trying to get the show, intact or in tune. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. It's always the worry and concern about pod fading, like all these different factors. And like somehow a lot of us have made it to this point. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. Like I said earlier, we got a lot to talk about. A lot has occurred. And I'm as I always like to share as a disclaimer, I will be doing my best to keep names and identities of companies, brands, and or businesses outside of the scope. I know I joked when I was doing it on other shows, but we do not own the rights to any songs, any music, anything that's heard. I will, because I didn't do it before, but I'm going to, I don't know if I want to bring it back on this show, but I think for the new year, I'm going to reintroduce the intros and the outros again, because that's even one thing that I didn't even write as one of my topics to talk about for the year in review. Because when I tell you this year tried it and wanted to succeed, but I just was not allowing it. And that's just what it is. So we're going to get into it. Like I said, I'm going to go through my topics. I'm going to talk through what I have. I'm going to give some added insight. And we'll kind of just let it be a thing and flow. So hopefully you all will get something from this show, either about my life or make you think about things that you have going on in your life. So let's reel back all the way to the beginning, as in January, which seemed like it was 20 years ago. But as many of you may or may not remember, I first was doing my gig with Pushing Patience. Not going to say where, like I said earlier. And the lowest of lows was beginning to become clear. And I wanted to see better for myself. I wanted to do better for myself. I wanted to improve upon my well-being as best as I could. And I rode the wave for that for a while. And it was able to, being on a different shift was different. There were a lot of different factors that I had to really look at and think of with that option, because ending 2020, being there, and then starting 2021 how I did, it was a lot. I'm not gonna lie. But I did end up getting another role. I did do some scheduling. So I was able to learn the ins and outs of how the appointments for patients are. I was able to get a feel for a new program that's being utilized at this said company. I didn't actually get to see the program, and I'll get into that in a sec. I don't have this listed, but I can talk about it real quick. By doing the role that I did there, it introduced me to a way to be creative with what I wanted to do, or a way to generate a form of design of art. And of all things, I would have never expected it to be what many of you all know who follow my TikTok page and even my Instagram, is Car Chronicle. So I'm gonna break that down real quick because that whole startup of that, it's still interesting to me looking at where it was and where it is now. So first couple of days, I'd started a new gig. I'm getting into my flow, getting in my thing, kind of working through it, pressing through it. It's working. It's making it happen. And as I was going to work, I was like, this is a good opportunity for me to like give good messages or give like a good inspiration to people. And so the first couple of days, would pass by and I would, sit down, come up with different topics. And at the time when I started to do it, TikTok was giving a lot of users the ability to do videos for up to 3 minutes. I got that feature, I almost want to say in the summer, like mid to late summer, which was fine. It wasn't no big deal, but I really needed that to get me going and like getting into that craft of just sitting down and talking it out and getting thoughts off my head and all that type of stuff. And the more interesting part about it is when I made the new page, I had to make when I started the page, I already had videos that I was doing on TikTok, but I wasn't able to get back my old profile, which I just think I wasn't open to putting the effort behind it. And it wasn't a big deal because it gave me a chance to utilize a new brand, utilize a new name, which then became the Past BT Pod, which is obviously the name of the podcast now. And it kind of just worked because I was using it. It kind of was like a double up because I use it for podcasting tips. I also use it for like just real life tips on things to help us become better. And now, even in my new role that I have, which I'll get into that in a moment, it's literally been like a solid definition of a win-win situation because I've been able to just get in the car, turn the camera on, be focused on where I'm going and just talk. And now like there are some days and I may do these, I'm indifferent about it, but I'm probably, knowing me, it's going to be kind of on an improv. Like I know I have a message that I'm going to share tomorrow, which hopefully if I edit and get through everything tonight, I can have the show up and you'll be able to hear this before that gets uploaded tomorrow. Just about being selfish versus being selfless and when to go to those avenues, because sometimes we go to them at the right and or the wrong time. And I'll leave it at that. But yeah, like I found the TikTok wave to be my go-to. That became my outlet. That became a space for me to be more vocal, which I'm going to talk about that as well. And I would have never, if you were to ask me at the beginning of the year, would I see myself doing a TikTok video every day? No. I was the person who unintentionally made fun or joked about the videos related to any dancing, any different posts, things of that nature. And now here it is, like, if I don't post videos, people know what's going on, but a lot of times because things do happen, it's like trying to get everybody on board, like, hey, here's where I'm at, here's why I haven't been posting, or here's where my mood is taking me right now. So I take those things, I really take those things to heart. While getting into the role of doing scheduling, I don't have this listed either. I had two things come up. One was not, so if any of you remember listening to the show last year, there was a brief point when I was without a car. This year I went through a similar scenario. The reason of it last year was just, I was piss poor with money management, and that was just not a good look. And this year it was some work needed to be done, and the cost was just way out of my scope. And not knowing until like when I really realized that I could do it, that I went ahead and got the work done, went and got my car, and it's been Chelsea and BT ever since. Shout out to Wilder Auto they've come in clutch with car maintenance for me since my normal go-to spot was Virginia Collision. And when they closed, I didn't know what to do. I'm not going to even bullshit or make a finagle excuse. Oh, we 10 minutes in, but fuck it. Explicit content. You may hear some crazy words here and there, but it's not going to be as over the top as it normally would be. And if it is, hold it to my head, not my heart. I still love y'all. Y'all know of me. I'm always bring it from an authentic space. That's just how I am and how I'm built. Wow, so much. And it's like crazy because I'm mentally thinking of the timeline because I even remember for my birthday this year, I was without a car. And there was an indifferent space of me whether I wanted to go, whether I wanted to hang out with friends, whether I just wanted to sit and sulk, what I wanted to do. And of course, you learn to just put things aside and just look at the priority in the bigger picture, which was these are my friends. This has been family for me on every level, and I have to remember that and keep that on my radar. While working as a scheduler, I decided to go back and do therapy. And that was a game changer. That was a game changer and an eye opener for a multitude of reasons. Number one, it would be a point of me doing therapy during COVID, which was all of my visits were telehealth. And we had a couple of visits that were by phone where we just talked on the phone and we had a conversation about everything. And it was good conversation, good insight. A lot of notes were taken, a lot of things were learned, and a lot of things kind of were brought to the forefront. And one of my visits, and I'll tell this story because it is what it is. One of the visits, I was supposed to, we had a phone call time set. And based on where I went to a specific library here in Richmond. And the library I was in, I didn't realize until I was already there that I was practically in the lowest part of the building. So by me being where I was, I couldn't get any phone calls. And for the life of me, I'm like, why am I not, like, he said he calling, but it ain't going through. And I'm sitting here trying to, like, that was a very interesting day because I was off anyway. But I was sitting and trying to do this, do that, get this done, and not using common sense and understanding, like, okay, you're in the lowest part of the building, you're not going to get signal. So let's figure out an alternative way to get this taken care of, which what he did was my therapist sent me a Zoom link. We set up everything on Zoom. I had my earbuds with me and we just talked in that manner. And it was a good talk. It was a good unpack. I had that session with him and I believe I had one other session with him after that. Because where I worked, you're able to get 5 sessions for free. So I utilized those 5 sessions and that was a godsend. I looked at considering if I was going to do more, but then timing is impeccable. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a second. But each of the sessions I had with him were spot on. They were amazing. They were like, I learned a lot about myself and it helped me grow as a person by far. We're going to go to late July, mid to early to mid August, I guess we could say. Everything happens and we sometimes don't understand why everything happens until it has happened. And we don't realize the extent of that until we're literally until we're in the thick of it. And when I say that, I mean it very openly and very honestly, because I'm gonna going to draw back the picture a little bit and go through my calendar archive. So I need to make sure I got my dates right. Friday, August the 13th. My career advisor or recruiter has been helping me with trying to find a job. I have been in and out of what I wanted to do with my future, with my career, with my goals, everything. I was all over the place, right? So when to reel back to my hospital state, it was when I left transport and I went to scheduling. I looked at scheduling, and when I got the position, my recruiter was checking with me to see what, where things were, what I was looking to do. And I was like, well, I just got a new position, so I want to see how this gonna go and ride the wave and figure out what I'm working on. A couple of months into it, it wasn't my niche. And it wasn't that I didn't value what my role was, because it was a role that was very pivotal to the business of the company. But I'm about a challenge. And I can say that the current role I have has challenged me more now than I've ever been challenged in my life, which I value more in hindsight. But returning back to the 13th, my recruiter's reaching out to me and was saying like, hey, I'm getting ready to leave. I will no longer be with the school. Any of you may or may not know, I graduated from ECPI. But in the process, I, even with me being an alum, like I was an alumni, so I had lifetime resources to their career services, which I didn't know. So my recruiter's talking with me and I'm telling her what's going on. And she said, well, I got this position. It's a entry-level position. It's with this company. You'll be through this company as your business. And I said, all right, let's do it. And I met with the recruiter from the contract agency. And he gave me the rundown of what the company I would be going to would look like. Kind of gave me a rundown of what to expect for the interview. And mind you, this all started on that conversation. All of that went down on the 13th. I believe I had the interview on the 20th. Like everything moved so fast because they were really trying to like get this all set up. I met with the recruiter from the temp agency or from the contracting agency, and he, gave me, we had like a real good sit down about, what his plans were, what my plans were, and we just talked about everything. A few days pass. I go to the interview. I had an outfit. It was not the greatest of great outfits, but I went in there and I gave it my best. And I think for me, and as I'm sitting, as y'all know, I always do the podcast. I talk about it every week when I do the shows, but even shouting out my friend Avis, who had her mom on to do vacation planning, which I still want to go on a vacation. But right now, COVID and just life, I'm not really, if I don't have to, I'm not going to. At least that's where I'm at right now. I have to not spoil it, but to manifest it in my own way. My 40th birthday, I plan to be in Italy. Bottom line. Don't know how, have not gotten a passport, haven't even looked at any rooms or any pricing for anything. But I'm going to be in Italy for my 40th birthday. And I will likely be talking to her mom to set that up. But I bring her up because I look at my sign and I always remind myself to fulfill a constant quest to be the best version of oneself every day. And I went into this interview and I gave the best effort I could give. I answered all the questions. I gave all the insight. I understood there was a golden question that was asked related to tying your shoes. I'm not going to go into details about it, but if you have done interviews regarding this, you'll understand the relevance of it. And I understood the relevance of it in my role in having to visualize things with people when talking to them. And I'm kind of going a roundabout with the story, but I'm gonna swing it back in a sec. Knock out the interview. About a week passes, and I was like, "Hey, I just wanted to see what the status was. What the story was regarding the interview. How did it go? Did they say they were interested, or what it was all about?" He said they made me an offer, and that was one of the happiest days I had reached. Only because I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I need to get me to a better space. And getting that opportunity was a blessing in disguise. I had another opportunity that was a blessing as well, and I had to make some very quick and smart decisions about that in theory, and I'll get into that in a second as well. Might help if I adjust that. I'm over here semi having technical difficulties, but not really. Using a new setup. Well, not a new setup, but something that I got as a gift for myself for the podcast and for better art, or for better digital work. I'm gonna get back to the story. Y'all know when I do, anytime anyone who has listened to me do these year review podcasts know I go all over the place and it always comes back. Don't ask me how, but it works. But I got a new shock mount for my microphone because the shock mount I had before was for my old Yeti, but it didn't work for the new Yeti X. And when I saw this one online, I was like, I need it. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. So I'm testing that out now and kind of using like I call it the full Monty. So the full Monty, for any of you who do podcasting, if you are, depending on your voice, and my voice I'll probably have to mess with some settings to get this squared away. But what I will do is I put I use a windscreen, which if any of you know the windscreen, it basically looks like a piece of paper. It's like a mesh guarded filter on the front of the microphone. I use that, but I also use the original typical pop filters. So I have both of those set up, and I'm using it with the new shock mount that I just ordered. So I'm testing it out. And it's funny because this is one of those times, even with me looking at my microphone and looking at my program, shout out to Adobe Audition. And I'll get into that too. I don't think I have it listed, but we'll talk about that. I'm seeing that my levels are like up there. So I'm really getting into it. But back to the interview. I did get a job. They did make me an offer. They did want to, check my background, make sure everything was straight. Had a conversation with them regarding that. All of that was fine. I got in, and it's been running nonstop ever since. A lot of people aren't adjusting very well to me having to work like I do, but I'm getting them to understand that I'm doing this because I want what I'm trying to go for. So there are those events and there are those gatherings that I may show up a little later than normal because I got to get off work first and then meet up and do what I do. So that's going to come with the territory. And it has come with the territory, and those who care, and those who don't, oh well. Everything's about the bigger picture at the end of the day. There have been other folks in branding, in designing, in everything that I've connected with a lot more now than I have before. And it's kind of almost like perfect timing for me to even talk about it now, because I talked with someone who is a virtual assistant, and, I asked her thoughts on, me looking at doing that. And she also gave like a title or an idea that could possibly work for where I'm wanting to go with what I'm trying to do, which is digital marketing. Because basically graphic design, web design, logo design, all of that, is all part of digital marketing. Because you have to make sure when you're working on people's art that you're giving as much availability to options of them getting their information out to others. Like when you do a logo for a business, and this is something I always have had to I've been learning this more and more along the years, especially this year. You design a logo for a business. That logo may go for X number of dollars from you selling it. The business is going to make bank with that logo as their face. You don't see any profit from that because your profit was from you making the logo. So it then becomes, you have to find your sweet spot or your price point that's going to get you to that bag. And that's the conversation I was having with her. And it's a book that I have along with other books that I'm working hard on reading as we are talking, to just give myself that opportunity to really improve on my brand and my craft. And I believe I might have written something about it. Yeah, I did write about it. As far as there's a program that I was participating in regarding helping you with establishing a business or getting things set up for a business. And I went through about a couple weeks of it, and I had stuff overlap, and I'll talk about how all that went in a sec. And it just was quite a bit all at one time. But with all of that being stated, and with where we are now, I am currently 3 months into my role. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that the critical thinking that I've been asking for in jobs, I finally have. My peace is way more manageable now. I'm not, things that I normally would take personal, I don't anymore. In that realm of the workflow. Criticism is going to come with the territory. You have to know how to accept it. And you have to know the difference between criticism and feedback, which I believe I've done a video on, but it's a statement that goes unnoticed in the importance between separating the two. So a lot of connecting, a lot of networking. I've built some strong bridges with people, and I'm trying to help folks who, if it's something that, and I'll say this now, if there's something that you think you want to do and you're not sure who to talk to about it, reach out. You might be surprised who I know. I might be surprised who I know. I might have the answer for you without having to go to somebody else. You never know. And it's almost like a trade-off, because there are a lot of things that people will provide for me that I don't even, I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm just here chilling. And it's like, hey, I got this for you. And it's like, oh, cool. I needed that. You must have known. So it's valuing the connections with others, just like others should value their connections with you. And for early warning, you'll probably get multiple messages passed to you through this show. So just be prepared. So at the beginning of this year, I did not realize the importance of a desk at all. The podcast that I'm recording, the area that I'm sitting at, I did not realize how much I would love this being my vibe until this became my vibe. I want, by far, like anybody, we always want bigger and greater, but for me, it's like I want a desk, like an L-shaped desk that has like space out of this world. I've already claimed and looked at considering getting a wide, I call them wide screens, but it's basically like a screen that's pretty much the length of a desk. I want that type of monitor on my desk, but I also want to make sure I have space to do it, and it would be beneficial to do it instead of just doing it because I want to do it. Like I don't want that to be my approach to what I'm going for, because that's not the type of time I'm on at all. So I'm definitely looking at those things as options. The interesting part with this desk, and I can share this story now because it's like It's all literally been like a full circle type of thing. Before I got the desk setup that I'm at now, and a lot of people who have been following my personal page have seen me take multiple pictures at my desk. And in the next segment, I'll explain why that was a thing. Cause that 6-month window was intense, for greater cause by far. But, before I got the desk or the area that I have now, I literally had a really simple table, and it was like a table that you could kind of fold up. It was meant for like if you wanted to eat, and you could kind of write on it. You could write on it. If you had a computer, you could it was made where if it was leaning forward a little bit, it could have a diagonal bend to it, and you could still type on it. But it was not a desk. It was not a desk at all. So I bought everything from my desk in pieces. And to anyone that I have gotten products from, either Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Facebook Marketplace, any sellers that have helped with anything on this desk, anything I've gotten for free, thank you all. I appreciate every bit of it. Yes, most of it I did have to buy, but I am Etsy. I'm definitely not forgetting Etsy, because I got this, which, by the way, a random piece of information. Don't sleep on anything in the 3D printing world, because a lot of things that are 3D printed come out pretty good if you really take time and look at it. But yeah, I went ahead and I found one person and got a desk. I found another person, got a chair. The chair wasn't to my liking, but I went ahead and kept it. And I'm now I went back to my roots and my natural habit, and just stuck with my gaming chair. I have a cushion that I'll use, because if I'm sitting, I utilize that. I've bought a foam anti-fatigue mat. If you're a person that's at a desk a lot and you need to stand and sit, get an anti-fatigue mat. I'm telling you this now because it's huge game changer. Like, I'm not just saying it just because it ain't me being sponsored by them. It's just something that you'd be surprised. You would be surprised how much you realize you need one when you get one. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Spry, I found, was called it's a board for if you're standing, it basically helps you with balancing, but it also is like a form of exercising as well. I'll share links for all of these products too, because a lot of them helped through where I'm going next with the topics. And the best, the creme de la creme, well, couple creme de la creme. So last year I bought we'll unpack it all, because I'm thinking of different things as I'm looking at stuff, because I'm just like, a friend of mine, she gifted me with a monitor, which was a blessing. I had a monitor. That monitor it was fine. I would use it from time to time, but I like this monitor a lot more. I got what I call my rubber duck debugging. Anyone who does coding and knows about the rubber duck debugging method, they'll know what I'm talking about. I went and got a Logitech MX Keys keyboard. I got the Windows edition, which means it can be used with Windows or Mac. And when I tell you this keyboard, I have a lot of respect for this keyboard, more than I realize, because it's giving me MacBook key vibes, but it's not as I can type on this. I can type on this with no fatigue. And I went ahead and got like a wrist rest for it. I got my mouse that matches the MX series. I went, and this is when I knew I was really about to dedicate time to sitting here. I went out and got a mat. So most people, when you have mouse pads, typically you get a mouse pad that's going to cover at least where your hand is to use the mouse, and where the keyboard is. Not me. I decided to go get a mouse pad that's practically the length of a tablecloth, but even in the length of the actual mouse pad, it's perfect for my desk. Well, it was perfect for my desk until I went and got what I think everyone should get if you're a person who is working, anyone who works from home, I would recommend this. I personally don't work from home, but I would tell anyone who is working from home, get a desk riser. Now, when I say get a desk riser, I'm not saying go out and spend $600 on a desk that you have a couple buttons and you can raise and lower your desk. I'm referring to it's an add-on. You sit it on top of your table. It has a button off to the side, and pretty much when you're ready to stand, you hit that button, raise the table up. When you're tired of standing and you want to sit down, you can press the button, lower the table back down. Best invention I've gotten, best thing I've used. It helped me a lot with coding, and yeah, it's a worthwhile investment. Like I wish I would have gotten it earlier on, but getting it when I did, I valued it a lot more. It sucked because once I finished my coding classes, this is probably one of the few times that I really sat at my desk and be like, let me go ahead and just get it all out there and write share what I want to share. And I'm good, but it was just like, it's sometimes those moments of like, all right, I got to sit down. And I've watched a video. I'm going to share this video with everyone. It is a 7-step process on ways to be more productive. And I always like sharing this video because the first task is probably the most frustrating one, but the funniest one. The guy uses a term, he calls it eat the frog. And it's basically like no one wants to literally eat a frog. But on the same token, there are hard, difficult tasks in your day and in your life that you're going to have to do. And the more you put it off, the more that frog will be there when you come back. And I don't want to give too much of the video away. I want people to watch it. And like I said, I'll put that in the show notes as well. But yeah, like I've pretty much given you like a full detailed description of my desk. Like I'm inclined to make my desk the cover photo. I don't know. But I literally have spent a fair amount of time just thinking, coding, podcasting, drawing. As a friend of mine, her and I have been on mutual terms. We're not calling it content creation or creating content or whatever. This is more or less this is my space that I can just kind of chill and be me and do what I want to do. And it's even better, like when I am sitting here at times, and if I want to get into my zone, I'll throw on my headphones, throw the noise canceling on, call it a day. I have that as a topic as well. So yeah, I found a massive comfort in my desk, as you can hear from just that section alone. Oh, and by the way, I'll get into this now because I want to address this. I talked about it in the show when I started to make the change, but I want to address this while it's fresh. I was indifferent and unsure because I know the title is past and it's referring to podcasts about sports and stuff. But I've realized that unless there's something that is sports related that can integrate into tech, which, by the way, I will share this now. A lot of people may not think it's a big deal now, but the LA Lakers now playing in the crypto.com arena is going to be a huge impact, whether anyone realizes it or not, because that is showing you where things are going. And if I remember, if I'm thinking of that game correctly, it may have been their game or it might have been the Milwaukee game. I know one of the courts, they put their preset sticker of, well, not a sticker, but it was a hologram type image on the floor to make it look like something was there that wasn't. One of the courts had the Microsoft logo. The other one had the Meta logo. Just pay attention to how ads and business is being promoted. I don't have this as a topic either, but I've talked about it on the last show. NFTs are not to be taken lightly. I'm not sitting here telling anyone to jump into it and think you're about to make $100 million overnight. But if you're trying to find a way to really hone in on something, that is going to be the way. And that's something like I even have written on my board, which if any of you know me, y'all know I love and I live through my dry erase board. And on my board, it literally says NFT 2022, 27. So we have 4 days left. I've been sitting here, I've been slacking so hard, I ain't even know how many days left on my calendar. I mean, on my dry erase board. But all of that being said, like I said, sports is kind of like whisked out of the show. I will, like I said, if it's a story and it's like, hey, we need to talk about it, I'll bring it in. But for the most part, I will be like tech. The shows will be more tech oriented. That's my main avenue. That's what I found to like be a bigger gravitation of conversation for me. And that's just kind of where I'm at right now about it. I put this word in all caps. Coding. HTML, JavaScript. I'm going to learn Java at some point. I'm actually kind of, I'm doing a couple of classes on Codecademy for Java, getting kind of a foundation of it. I'm looking to learn Python as well. But HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Node. Only thing that I really haven't touched that I've heard of Ruby Rails. And yeah, I always love telling this story because I've talked about it during the show and some episodes back, but it's fun to get into it now and really look at it. At the beginning of the year, coding would have been the last thing I would have thought that I would be interested or have such a high interest about. But it took one text message from a friend who is literally, and I'm gonna talk about this really, really quick before I go any further. I've treated a lot of friends as family, but then I don't acknowledge them as family, and that's not right. It's not right, and it's not the way I should be doing that. So, any of my friends, anyone who has known me through anything and everything, and has been family, or practically equivalent to family, you're family. Bottom line, I don't want to leave 2021 like I've been doing and saying, yeah, been treating me like I said this vocally a few days ago, and I really realized after saying it that it's not the best way to make, deliver messages and make statements. But looking at someone and saying, yeah, it's like an anonymous family, anonymous part of the family. No, I'm family. And that's, I'll talk about that in a minute, regarding my sister, Glory, because it's still tough to talk about, but I don't want to be too all over the place about it. But a friend who's been a sister to me, Kanika, text me on a just, checking in with me, seeing how things were, and asked if I knew about or had done coding before. Now, I had learned coding before. I had gotten a degree in web design, but I haven't really honed in on it because at the time, even when I got that degree, we learned HTML. We learned like advanced HTML. We did CS, cascaded style sheets, all well and good, right? But I didn't go like in depth like I did a JavaScript class, but that was so long ago. Like, unless I'm sitting there, and even with me learning Java the way I did like a few years ago, it's like you have to, if you, with IT and with tech, and I want to make sure I talk about this before I go too far, you either use it or lose it. And if you lose it, getting it back is not as easy as it looks on paper. Like, it really is like a tedious process, and finding that way to like hone in and learn or become comfortable with what or how said skill looks. Yeah, I'm definitely using the whole 3 hours for this podcast. I'm looking at this. My bad. I'm looking at my previous shows that I've done because I wanted to see like how much time do I have, and I'm like, yeah, they give me 3 hours, so this shouldn't be a 2-hour show. I'm hoping, but we'll see. It's never any telling with me. It's where I start and how I finish. But yeah, so when she asked me about it, I said, yeah, I haven't really done coding, or it's been a minute. And so she, gave me some information. I filled it out. I got the ball rolling with that. And there were different things that they had me do to see if I was going to get into the program. So, I get into the program. I, learn everything. Oh, I'm not learning anything, but they sent all the information over to me. They were like, we want you to do these math problems. We want you to do this. We want you to do reading. We want to see if you're able to do these, core essential parts. So they did all of that. And then they were like, we'd like to say congratulations. You've gotten into our program for coding. So I was able to do coding. The icing on the cake for that was the program we used and everything we did. I didn't have to pay it all for it. That was a tremendous blessing, to say the least. I paid it in time and sweat, blood, and blood. I paid it in time, blood, sweat, and tears, because I literally was having some days where I was just like, I don't know if I'm this is what I want to do, but I knew I needed to do it. Having a desk set up and just kind of being able to kind of come home and just get into my zone, it was very resourceful, because if I didn't, I won't go do it. I knew I wasn't going to do it. A lot of people heard no from me at that time, and many of them understood in the long run why I was giving no's out the way I was. Because it wasn't, I'm giving a no because I just don't want to do it. I was giving a no because what you want me to do is not a priority to me right now. And it's not a bad thing. It's just not something that I'm pressed on right now, which happens. But yeah, I finished the 3 classes. Our teacher was in India. He was a good teacher. I'm connected with him on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, which is amazing. I've checked with him and seen different things he's been posting. Majority of the students in our class actually were able to get jobs, because it's a 12-month commitment. There's 6 months of the class, which we just finished the class back in late October, early November. And then there's 6 months, or the remaining time period, involved with the actual apprenticeship search and hunt. Now, I'm going to talk about this now because I wasn't sure if I wanted to address it, but I'm going to address it because y'all know like I said, the one thing with my podcast that I've always made clear is this is a safe space, and I have no shame talking about it now. As you are aware, and as I just mentioned, I had gotten the opportunity and the job where I am now. Grateful for it. Wouldn't trade it for the world. I did not realize that I would have things happen the way they did, how they did, as quick as they did. And here's what I mean. The school that I was attending had a position open for a software developer. It would be an intern, and it was a contract. It was short. It was a brief contract, but it was an opportunity. I went through with the interview. I did very well on the interview. Both panelists who asked me questions were very, very upfront and they were very caring, and they were very honest in what the day would look like and what you would be doing. And so I did the interview. I would say within a day or two, I got a call. They gave me an offer. I'm gonna say this because y'all know I got no shame in saying it. Them numbers looked sexy as all outdoors. And, I mean, the amount I was gonna come home with every 2 weeks was looking beautiful. I'd have got the benefits, the PTO. It was a nice setup. I'm not gonna even BS it. The problem was it was a 2-month contract, number one. And number two, I had to really sit back and think about loyalty and not breaking the bridge with where I am now. because I did this before. I broke a bridge. I broke a bridge because I saw another bridge that was like an easier way to get to what I thought I was going to. And when I did that back then, it bit me. Like, it really hit me. And it was at a time, if any of you recall, when the unemployment was through the roof. So I know unemployment is not where it is now. Where it is now is not where it was then. They're polar opposites. But I still had that in the back of my head. And I even talked to different people about it. Some people was like, you made the best choice. I had one person who was like, I'd have took the opportunity. And I was like, yeah, I get it. But everyone's, and this, it's funny because I have this on my board. My board, I have this message and it says, what does my lane look like? My lane did not look like me needing to go for that position because I can get that opportunity where I'm now. Because I had to, of course, talk to my recruiter about the decision in, possibly looking at it. Because I had gotten the information, but I didn't sign anything. But then when I saw it, I was like, okay, let me look at it, see what I want to do, how I'm looking to do it. And luckily I said no. And I've been okay with where I am. And I'm not, when I say I've been okay, I'm not saying like I'm okay and I settled. I'm okay and I'm becoming more confident in where I'm at and what my role entails. It's a valuable thing because now that my friend Special has introduced this to me, it's important to have tasks in what you do. So, for instance, if your tasks or you have things that you want to work on while you're at home, you should have tasks. If you're at work, there are tasks you have to do at work. If you just go in freestyle and trying to do stuff, you're not going to get anything done. It's just unrealistic and it's impossible. And I see that now. At first, I didn't get it, but as things have started to kind of play themselves out, it's been making more sense. And that goes into my next part about assessments and praying more often. I didn't do it a lot before, but now I'm really finding myself praying. I really found myself taking time to really assess and look at things and really put pieces together and make sense of what it is that I'm doing, what it is I'm trying to do, what it is I'm working on, all of that. Before I didn't do that. I just kind of ran off the hip. And if it made sense, it made sense. While I'm sitting here thinking about this, let me make sure I get this to become my thing. Bullet journal setup. So I don't have this listed, but I'll talk about it real quick. This was year 2 of bullet journaling. So last year was year 1. I did the Chelsea Bujo. Chelsea Bujo was good. Chelsea Bujo started with Kobe passing, which I still can't process. I'm still not there. And the Bujo or the bullet journal I got this year, I got an official bullet journal from their website. And my message or my theme was the year of BT. And it was this, because I had the sticker on for it. It was a salty Bujo. Like I was very like nonchalant, not playing games about what I was going to do or what I was working on. Starting off, I did pretty good with logging, and then for whatever reason, it was not a story I expected to read or see, but Jonas Neubauer, who was one of the more well-known names in Tetris, passed away. Took me away. Took me out. Because one, I love Tetris. Like I live for Tetris. Like I'm one of those people that if it was a competition between basketball and Tetris, it would be I would give more effort to playing Tetris than I would basketball. And that would shock a lot of people, but I'm being so honest. Like I literally, you know what? I might do that after this. After this podcast, I'm going to play Tetris because I've been playing Tetris 99 online. I haven't played in a while, so I may get my sharpen my skills back up. So motivation, cool. That was a huge passing. And what I did on the page, I was still trying to like find my niche on how I wanted to bullet journal, if I was going to do all the art and designing. And then I realized where my dilemma was with bullet journaling. It has nothing to do with not being a designer or not being an artist. It has more to do with focus on the bullet journaling, meaning focus on what bullet journaling entails, which is the rapid logging, which is the monthly log, which is your reflection, which is your, hey, let's look at what we did do and what we got done. What do we need to add or what's missing? Like those things are what I want to improve upon for bullet journaling in 2022. This year I'll be using the bullet journal again. I got the second version of it, which is a little more elegant. It was like a $5 difference, but I still love the look of the new bullet journal. I've been able to, I went ahead and cracked open the book, because I did put my stickers on. The sticker I'm using on the front, I think I did it backwards, but it still should be fine. On the front, I have my emoji that I'm going to start trying to see how I want to promote. It's just a picture of me. And I'm going to give a brief context about that, and then I'll continue with the bullet journal story, and then we'll get into the rest of these topics. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm sitting here like just stuck on this. My bad, y'all. But I was trying to check with someone. Well, let me backtrack. My day-to-day life when I was talking about coding was literally me sitting in front of screens. And it would be me sitting and wearing a pair of gaming glasses, which I don't have mine on. Vicky, if you hear this podcast, I don't have them on. I'm sorry. It's not on purpose. But I'm going to put them on because I promise that I do want to retain my visuals while I can. But I say all that to say, my routine or my day-to-day routine literally consisted of me sitting in front of the screen, working on coding all the time. And it became so much of a trend that I found I literally made a way. There's a girl who I follow on LinkedIn who has an Instagram. Her name she goes by Kate Loves to Code. Excellent designer, good at what she does. She's doing HTML. She's doing full stack as well. And I'm sorry, I said I was coding, but I didn't say. I'm basically, with what I learned, I was able to learn full stack developer, or full stack software developer, software engineer, however you want to term it. Basically, I can do UI, which is user interface, and UX, which is user experience. The example I always give is with Amazon, you get both of those features. UI is what you physically see when you go from site to site. So if you click on a picture of a pair of shoes, it's going to take you to a page of a pair of shoes. Now, the UX part is if you go to that page for those shoes and you want to buy the shoes, do you buy one pair? Do you buy two pair? What size pair of shoes are you buying? It has to take that information that you put on as an option and process it. Processing is done in the back end or the user experience, which is not what you don't physically see. So when you go to put in whatever products that you bought and you go to, once you've put everything in the shopping cart and you do buy, place order. When you place order, that means they're going to charge your card, or they're going to say you don't have the right card number entered. Please verify that your card number is correct and then go through the process from there. So that's what I ended up learning with full stack. But I did in doing full stack, I was sitting here now. It's gonna be weird because I'm not gonna hear myself. I was sitting at my desk, and as I was sitting at my desk, I don't even think I had this monitor. I had another monitor. I set the monitor at a low height, and I took a picture of me behind the monitor, and it looked like an emoji. I was mimicking an emoji online. So that emoji, for a while, I had on most of my pages as my main picture. And most people were like, well, what's the emoji thing? But like I said earlier, Kate loves to code. She found something. She did something similar where it was her sitting at a desk and it was an emoji character. And that was like kind of an ongoing thing. She's actually a big part of why I started to do the rubber ducky thing. Like I have a red rubber ducky at home. I have a purple rubber ducky at work. And they both help me with debugging or figuring out stuff when I'm having to work on anything work or coding related. I bring that up because that's one of the stickers I have on this book, on this bullet journal on the front. On my laptop where my Apple logo is, I have my other person that I was able to get for that emoji, excuse me. And then on the back, and actually, you know what? I take it back. It is a Momo. It is it's my personal Memoji that I took, and I made that image into an actual customized sticker, and someone was able to design this, like make the stickers for me. And then I got two stickers. One was a larger sticker, and the other one was a smaller one. The large one I put on the back of my laptop. The small one I put on the back. The large one I put on the back of my bullet journal. And it is the Mamba mentality. So I have that message that's going to pretty much be with me at all times. If I don't have it on my laptop, I got it with my bullet journal. So that's where that whole ordeal comes from. All right, got a lot to run through. So we're not going to rush, but we're going to push it. Playing more pool. Been going to pool halls more often. I found lately that pool halls or playing pool is a therapy session for me. If I have someone that's able to attend with me, great. I've learned I can play pool by myself and have a good time. I'm going to open this up to anyone who listens to this show. Murphy's Law, Diamond Billiards, what is the name of it? I can't even remember. It's on Another Round on Brook Road. And it's another pool hall on Midlothian. It used to be Breakers, but I'm not sure what it's called now. But I've been there and I've played pool. Those 4 pool halls, you are guaranteed, or pool areas, you're guaranteed to see me play pool. And I will have Matilda with me ready to go. If you don't know about Matilda, then come play some pool. She shows up ready to play, and I show up with her ready to play. Pause. I'm going to double check because I want to confirm. I'm not sure because I want to confirm it and find out. Breakers on Broad used to have a pool hall. It's claimed to have a pool hall. I just don't know where it is unless it's in the back part that I just don't see. So I never try to figure out how it's set up. Maybe next time when I go there, I'll ask someone and they might tell me. Who knows? But yeah, playing more pool. A lot of my friends have been achieving goals or working through goals, and I want to take time in saying that I appreciate y'all. I'm proud of y'all. Anyone who has done whatever it is that they're trying to do, y'all are getting nothing but support from me. A friend of mine who I haven't talked to in a while, she recently got married. I'm excited for her. Her and her husband, definitely wishing them success. A lot of my friends have been going upward with what they're working on. And I just want to take time to really tell y'all, don't stop. Just like y'all been reminding me, we pushing. We want to roll into the new year and make this move and make these things happen because it's our time to shine. And that's just what it is. And that's just what it is. And that's just what it's going to be. Bottom line. Pressing the plan. As y'all know, I've become a planning addict. I think special for it all the time. I make every session that I can if I'm not working on something else crazy. She might be doing one now, I'm not sure, but I have literally been in planning mode for myself, trying to work through my own planning processes and routines and helping other people with, because people will come to me and they want to work on a design, or they want to work on a logo. And it's I have to kind of set deadlines or set expectations with them. And if they don't have anything, then I'm just kind of running them rampant, and I'm being put in positions to really learn how important that is. So I'm taking that into account more often. Greatest thing ever. Pomodoro addiction. So the Pomodoro addiction has upgraded. So let me talk about this really, really smooth, really quick. But we got, like I said, we got a good amount of stuff to unpack, so we're fine. So I had a cube. A lot of people knew that I had this cube that was able to help me with managing time. The timer was set where it had 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I think it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I think 25 minutes. Or 20 minutes and 25. I don't know. Well, one day I had the cube and it fell. And when it fell, however it fell, it didn't fall good enough where it was able to pick up the battery being connected to it to turn on. Now, I had my old school cube, which I still think of using from time to time, but the only thing I didn't like about it is it has this aggressively red light on it that I just am not a fan of, number one. And number two, when it goes off, it is like, even if you set it at a low setting, it's still pretty loud. So I just don't use it at all. Then Basis showed up. I went on Wish and I found this timer that you literally can set up to 99 minutes and 55 seconds. But it's such a great timer that literally this timer has saved and gotten me through quite a fair share of coding, like without even trying. And I do not have any regrets about that whatsoever. I always remind people, if you are looking for a inexpensive option and you don't need the bells and whistles, there's an app called Be Focused Pro. Be Focused. You can get Be Focused Lite, which is free. You only can use it on one device. Pro, it pretty much follows you everywhere. So if you are using on Mac, iPad, iPhone, any other Apple devices, if you're keeping managed or track of like your progression with timing things, it's going to be universal on all devices. So if I start a Be Focused timer on my laptop, if I open it up on my phone, that same timer will be continuing its time, which I love. And it's worth it. There's a website online. I'm going to make sure I mark that because I like to tell people that site is a free version. You can literally run it on a web page and it will count whatever. It's set with the traditional Pomodoro time of 25 and 5, but it runs it just like a full Pomodoro process, which is 25-5, 25-5, 25-5, and then 25-15. The advantage of the Basis stop timer that I bought, and any different third-party companies have this timer as well. If you get the timer, you can set the timer to whatever time you want. So what I have been doing now, and Special introduced this to me, and I've been doing it. I did it with coding class, and it helped out a lot. I'll turn it on, set it to 45 minutes, and just let it go. And then I'm just working on coding. The beauty of it is, because it's a timer that you can let be silent, you see the numbers. You're going to see when it's running this time. But when it's finished, it just flashes. And you can set it where it can go off once it's finished. But I just like this timer. And then when it's set, if it's not actually keeping track of any time, it will actually, like, it'll show the displayed time, and then it will just go away. So I like that feature of it as well. Music listening. I've listened to a good amount of music. There's been like a mix and match of rotational songs. I got into Her's new album was amazing. Snow Allegra's album was good. I need to finish Rick Ross. I need to finish Alicia Keys. Dr. Dre brought out a new album. There are a lot of other artists that I've been checking out, catching here and there. If you would like, I think I can make it available. I'll see if I can get my Spotify Wrapped playlist to show. I'm not sure if it's public or not. If it's not, then we'll figure it out. But I definitely had some good songs that stuck with me, especially Made a Way. I literally have been working through the year to just make a way and just get through and keep my head on straight. So music has definitely been the therapy for the soul. A lot of lo-fi. Lo-fi has, I've lived through lo-fi this year. Lo-fi, solfeggio, binaural beats, frequency playlists, different frequencies. I'm not sure if I've talked about this yet, but I'll talk about it now. I've found myself listening to spiritual guided meditations, connecting with different spirits. Very helpful, very heavy. I'm overdue to do one soon. Not ready, but I know it needs to be done. And I was introduced to I have two songs that I'm going to share with you all to listen to. Special introduced me to one. My boy Lonnie introduced me to the other one. I would recommend you listen to them either to start your day or be like a nightcap type of thing. The first one I'm going to share is the morning. It's meant to be a morning motivation. It is called Morning Motivation. Let me see what it says. Hold on. Morning Motivation. Set your life up to win. It is a 6-minute play, but it's a good play. That's the one Special recommended to me. She was doing live this morning and she played it. And when it played, I was like, nah, I'm just going to go ahead and listen to this. And I was in the room as long as I could, but that had my attention like heavy. And then my boy Lonnie, he introduced me to I've Had Enough. I Have Had Enough has been played countless times on my phone. It didn't make my my list of top 100, but I also can kind of understand why, because I think it might be how it's categorized, but I don't know. Podcast break or transition. I've talked about that already as far as like switching over to tech, doing it bi-weekly. We'll probably sooner than later be going to weekly shows. I just want to make sure I'm not forcing shows without giving true emphasis on what we'll be talking about. I've talked about already, there won't be as much sports, if not any sports. Sports, it's not that I'm not a fan of sports. It's just what I'm looking to do and where I'm trying to go with things. Sports is not in that window. Just like I said earlier, NFT 2022. I may make, if it's not already, I might make that a hashtag. This has probably been the most marked show I've ever had. I've marked so many things, but I remember all of it. LLC Efforts. I was a little slackish on the LLC vibes this year, and I blame nobody for that but Brian. I did not treat my business as a business, and I take full responsibility for that. Next year, the beginning of the year, I will be putting time and effort into joining a business program that helps with giving you the tools and resources and abilities on getting your business in order, because it's well needed for me, and I'm ready, especially with knowing what my business, the amount of income that can come from doing my business is unmatched. Like right now, and I was telling somebody this before, it's not going to be anytime soon, but I would like to get a new Mac. I can't get a new Mac with where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I know that. So that's motivating me to really work harder to like put more behind what I'm trying to get done to make what I need to get done a reality. This is going to be a sensitive but a fun one. And I'll kind of do a double integration because I don't mind. So I still have the Clubhouse app. I was introduced to Clubhouse in December of last year. A friend of mine who I still am appreciative to her to this day for was able to give me an invite to join Clubhouse. Cool. First couple of months I got on Clubhouse, it was a vibe. I loved Clubhouse. I enjoyed it. Clubhouse turned into a drama house without even trying. And I had a weird blow up with someone, which I still don't understand why we had to blow up, but it happened and we never resolved it. And it's almost like, you know what? Sometimes you got to let things go to make space for better things. And that's something that I've seen myself experience more this year than I have in my life. Because there's even one of my friends who I thought I was cool with, but we really didn't talk. Well, we talked, things were good. Then I overstepped boundaries with social media. We lost interaction, and I was like, cool, I guess it was time for me to let that go too. And it happens. It's one of those things where you don't understand it in the moment, but it makes sense down the line. And that's kind of what it is. I'm not on Clubhouse as frequently as I used to be. If I'm on there, it's usually just if someone is doing a room and I want to come in and get some conversation, I will. My friends that I've met or networked with that are part of the We Love It Here group, I love them. They have been inspirational and helpful. Shuka's charm. It's so wild to think of how I first interacted with her and how close we were through Clubhouse. And now I'm seeing what she's doing with the horoscopes. I love it. Like, it's the evolution of knowing like where you start with things and what you're really trying to do. Because something can just start as me something like, okay, I'm just trying this out and seeing how it goes. And now it's like, oh, it's on this type of level. I got to treat it with this type of care. And I value it tremendously. Like, I'm not just saying that just because. It's a lot of people that I've built and gained connections with. My friend Nikki G, I'm ready for her to, we working on this site. We will get this site done one way or another. I don't know how, but it's getting done because it's ready. It's time. People ready to see what you got, and all those factors. I met a couple of guys who were big in basketball. It trickled over into Twitter. We're doing Twitter Spaces. I was very close to participating and helping with Twitter Spaces. My life was not available to do Twitter Spaces, and it's okay. I didn't get it at first because at first I was like, oh, I want to be part of it and do it. And then I was like, this ain't my thing. And it's okay. And I'm learning now, like, to not be so hard on myself for what I don't do because there are a lot of things that I can or am doing. So separating those two has been very helpful. I'm wearing them now. I haven't really been wearing my Sonys to listen to music. My AirPods have been my escape sessions. Like where I work now, I always keep one in and one ear open because if I'm taking a call, I got to be available. Like, I'm not going to take any chances on that. Last week, I attended my sister's funeral. And they made my sisters and brother may or may not know this. I have not been the best with connecting. I've been on my own island in my own world. If no one else could get me out of that space or bring me back into like the importance of it, it was always Gloria. There are still more tears that I need to shed. There's more emotional grief that I'm working through. And there's no doubt that it's heavy. It's a lot. A lot of people have talked to me to see how I've been doing, and I've been given the same answer that it's just heavy. A friend of mine, I called her on Christmas Day. Well, actually, I went to her. No, I texted her to say Merry Christmas to her and the family. She gave me some news that I wasn't prepared for. So I called her. We laughed. We joked. But I gave her a space to kind of like just talk because we all don't get that. And I have it listed as well. My friend Amanda, she was on episode 331. The thing, and I've been sharing this with people because I haven't, to be honest, I was supposed to have done this show last week, but obviously Monday I was not going to do it. I couldn't. I wasn't even in the right state of mind to even try to do it. But I've learned and I began to understand something that I didn't think was a big deal, but it is. Her husband, Larry, has been an amazing husband to her. Larry has been their son, awesome guy. He's working through this. He's handling this the best he can. And I definitely want to do my part in being there for them by far, because I know they need it. And the thing that's sticking out to me more than anything is, this isn't even on being selfish or selfless or nothing. It's just the observation of the circle. Her gift with radio and with art. And when I say art, I'm referring to the radio factor and just writing a book. Those are gifts that I have, and I don't use them as much as I should. And that's got to change. My commitment, among many other commitments in 2022, is to not sit on what I have. And I didn't realize that until this happened. Because she did radio. I was a guest on her show. I always remember that show. And we were talking. This will probably be the first time I'm telling this on. Well, it will be the first time I'm telling this on air. We talked about, this was way before any of the R. Kelly stuff got to where it is now. But she was talking about him as far as him being titled or termed as the Pied Piper of R&B. And we had a very good conversation about it. And I think at the time I was still learning and gaining my voice in how to talk things out about that. Never would have thought I'd be sitting in front of a microphone and doing podcasting, and thinking about how her doing radio and me doing podcasting is like, okay, you gotta make this your thing. And it is my thing, but I think now it's really gotta be my thing. With writing, I've shared it before. I've been back and forth about wanting to write this book, You Can't Turn Off the Streets. It's probably time. I'm spending more time trying to figure out where the actual original pages of it were. And I don't know if I'm ever going to find them. If I find them, it'll be a blessing in disguise. But even outside of that, I just know for a fact that I have a skill set and a gift that I'm really not wanting to sit on no more. Even down to, because when I did the transition on my blog, I still love blogging. I still want to blog. Let me be clear on that. But since I've done this newsletter, the newsletter brings a different look and a different feel to how I'm able to control who's getting it and if folks want to receive it. Because a lot of people will say they read your blog, but it's like, with this, it's a little different, because then it's like, this is going to show who's supporting and who's down. I still got to talk with the family on it, but I want to find a way to get her books to be PDF forms, to possibly be on Kindle, if that's something they often want to do. I can't make that decision for them. But yeah, it's this is the part of the podcast that I didn't want to do or didn't want to talk about. But even more interesting, my friend, my boy Mark, gave me a message that I can get real quick. He said, take as much time, tears, anger, and energy needed to write what's on your mind and heart on those pages. Don't hold back anything and write everything. I was terrified to journal after I got the news. The day of the funeral, I didn't write. I think I ended up finally journaling on either the 23rd or the 24th. And I just wrote. It flowed. I didn't cry. I had a lot of mental hurt, but it was good to get that part of me out, or get those thoughts presented or delivered. So still need to do a brain dump. I haven't done one in almost 3 or 4 weeks. I love brain dump. I think brain dumping is something that I'm beginning to love. And anyone who does it doesn't understand that. Basically, brain dumps are you take a piece of paper. You don't care how pretty or how ugly it looks. And you just write out everything that's in your head, which can be either a whole lot or too much to even fit on one page, or it could be just, you're kind of just numb. I've had those. I've heard those be options as well. I'm also wanting to learn about doing a mind map because I have an app that I haven't been using called ClickUp that has the ability to do mind mapping that I want to learn how that works. So a lot of things are in store for 2022. And I've already talked about Amanda's passing, willingness to allow yourself to grieve, feel, and heal. I've done more feeling than I've ever felt before. Don't like it, but I need to do it more often. A lot of friends have noticed that I've been more vulnerable, and I've been balancing that out too, because a lot of things everybody don't need to know. I'm beginning to see how important that is. Value your family. You only get one family. I say this to people all the time, but I think really we need to hone in on how important it is. You only get one family. Yeah, your friends can come and go, but your family is forever. And even the folks that you consider as family, they're forever. If they really down for you and they rock with you, they care, and they're going to show that they care. Before I get, no, I can save it. I can say this for, I'll save it with the I am athlete part. DMX passing blue surprised me. I really didn't know how to deal with that. Really didn't know how to take that one. Because the stories were coming in so fast of where he was, how he was feeling, how everything was going. They're saying he might have passed away. The publicist was like, no, it hasn't. It was just a lot. The young Dolph shooting still doesn't make sense to me. And then even worse, it was, of all things, family. I just wanted to take a quick moment of silence. That's what that was for. Because I looked at my list and I was like, yeah, I'm going to announce a moment of silence. I was like, no, I'll just take a moment. We'll take a moment of silence. So that's a 20-second moment of silence to just kind of just think and decompress and just process everything. We're going to end the year. Let's make sure we end this year on a high note, though. Like, even with all that has or hasn't gone on, like, let's make the most of what we have. There are 4 days left in the year, 3.5 if you want to be, 28, 29, 30, 31. So, yeah, we got 4.5 days left in the year. And don't make resolutions if you're not going to stick to them. And if you're going to do vision boards, go for it. But as I'm beginning to do, which I need to go back and look at mine, work on an execution board. And if you don't know what that looks like, I need help with it, check in with my friend Special Sharice on Instagram. She is someone who can definitely get you set up into a class where we are going to go into doing one. I'm gonna save the message for 2022. Never mind. I'm sitting here like, no, I can get a message. So the message for 2022 for Brian is unfinished business. The interesting thing about this reference is, one, every time I've searched for it on Google, it brings up a movie which I've never seen. Obviously, I don't watch a lot of movies, as most people know. But even funnier is, in November, my dry erase board, I would always put like a message in the top right hand corner. The message for November was unfinished business. This month it was inner B, which is your inner child. It was my inner child rather. But I'm sharing today for 2022 is unfinished business. So there's going to be anything that I've left unfinished or anything that didn't get done, I'm getting it done. and I'm not worried about who is or isn't on board with it, it's getting done. It's got to be done. Because if it's not finished, it's no benefit going into the next thing. And I've already marked it earlier in the show, but the video about the 7 things as far as eating the frog, as far as, like it's literally simple things that we can do that we don't do and don't realize if we do them, it will help us. Like something as small as 1, 2, 3, go has been like, all right, let me get up and get it popping. Because you have to have something that's going to put you and push you to work harder on getting something done. Finding your voice, and what does that look like? I personally can say this year has been about me really working on and honing in on my throat chakra. I've talked about chakras before. A lot of people have the love and angst about it. I'm not even concerned about it anymore. But I will say this. Our body is checking in with us just as much as we're neglecting it. And I know that's going to sound crazy, but just slow walk with me on this one. Episode 333, I talked about this, and it stuck with me. It was brought to my attention before that episode, but it really stuck with me after that episode. Mind, body, and spirit. 3 components that are golden, but 3 pieces of who we are that we ping pong with on a daily basis, because we'll ignore one and put emphasis on the other 2, or we'll ignore all 3 of them and just do whatever we want. And our mind, body, and spirit keeps track of that. Like it's a log that's being done that you don't even know you're doing. So take care of those 3 pieces, because that's what you got and that's what you're working with, even if you don't realize it. A podcast listening transition this year too. Many of you may or may not know, I was a big Joe Budden fan. I still think he does what he does, and I respect him for what he's good at doing. But it's not my cup of tea, and it's not my lane. So now what I have found, or what I've gravitated to, are more positive and or productive podcasts. There are 3 that have stuck out with me. Rerooted and Thriving by my sister. I call her. It's interesting because our friendship kind of like split for a bit. Life happens, and now we're good. Like time, and I always say this all the time, time and space are such valuable assets that whether we know it or not. So us having the time and space apart that we did, we realized like, all right, I mean, you doing your thing, she doing her thing, and that's just what it is. But I say all of that to say, she definitely, the podcast that she's doing, Rerooted and Thriving, is awesome. Anyone that's in leadership, even if you're not in leadership, I would say listen to the show. It's meant and or targeted. She's wanting it to help women in leadership, but also men can listen too. Like the first few episodes she did, I was taking notes every week. I'm writing down, okay, what did she say on this? Okay, what was he talking about on this? If I'm listening to it on the go, I'm hit because I'm like, oh, I can't write none of this down. I just got to catch it and go with it. So I've been listening to her show. Encourage Yourself 365. I need to get back on her show. She's amazing. She does her content. I love her art and her designing of what she does with a podcast. I love it. There was an episode she did. I'm not near my phone, but she gave a very solid message that I couldn't even delay not screen. I had to screenshot it and like share it because it was so valid to listen to and to talk about. And I Am Athlete, I would have in a million years, I would have never expected for myself to really listen to I Am Athlete like I do. Like I love listening to their show. I love listening to them give opinions and conversations on different things. Sports related and non-sports related, just life related. And I want to talk about it while I'm thinking about it because I have it on my board. Normally when people check in with folks, so this year, and I'll talk about this because y'all know I got, like I said, I ain't got no shame. We here, so we're gonna roll with it. this year I went different ways on figuring out how to do check-ins with people. Whether it was going to be the mood board, whether it was a feelings wheel, I tried it all. Well, let me rephrase it. I tried those two. Didn't work. Listen to I Am Athlete. Brandon Marshall comes on one episode and he asks each of the guys, where are you at mentally, personally, and professionally? On a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being trash, you ain't feeling it, it's awful. And 10 is, I'm doing amazing in that category. I never realized how much reception or how much feedback you get from giving that as an option compared to the other. And it's been something that I'm beginning to make a thing with friends who don't want to check in. So I will say, all right, what's your number? What's your 3 numbers today? Where we at? Because asking folks how you doing, oh, I'm doing fine. Oh, I'm doing good. Everything's all right. Everything will be okay, but everything ain't as okay as it's presented to be. And it's fine. We have all been down that road. Totally get it. But do you know when to turn off of that road? So that's something that doing these check-ins like this have been helpful. Like a lot of people have connected. Like one of my boy, he was sending that joint to me, and I'm like, usually I have so at home I have it on my board. At work I have a little small board and I have it written mental, personal, professional. So I usually will put it on one of the two, and it's helpful. So it's something that I think more people should do. So I Am Athlete, Brandon Marshall, Michi. Keep up what y'all doing. You definitely have a fan out of me. And House of Athletes, love what you're doing with all of it. Nothing negative for me at all about any bit of it. All right. Pass the message, the final message to pass along as we leave 2021 and go into 2022. Wow. I don't even know where to begin. One, anyone that has been on this journey with me, good, bad, or ugly, I thank all of you. There are a lot of people that I've talked about a lot of things on this podcast, and there are a lot of people that I haven't even named or remotely mentioned that have been with me through everything. And when I say everything, everything. They have seen me be in my best. They have seen me be in my worst. They have seen me not want to talk to anybody. They have seen it all without seeing it all. So I just want to tell any of those friends who have made it this far to the show that I thank y'all. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. We have a lifelong friendship. Even when things may or may not be the greatest in conversations, we are always going to be friends. That is not a sub message to anybody. That is every single person. Everybody's lives are going in every single direction that's known to man. My message that I want to pass along is don't disturb people's groove. And I know that's going to be a weird one to end the year with, but I'm gonna walk it smooth, and then we're gonna talk it, and it's gonna all make sense. So there was a song that came out in the 90s by The System called "Don't Disturb This Groove." The song has remotely nothing to do with where I'm going to use the "Don't Disturb This Groove" method, but it will be an important piece. The exact lyrics go, or the main meat and potatoes of the song says, "Hang the sign up on the door. It says, don't disturb this groove. We allow a lot of things in our lives to disturb our groove, to disturb our motion, to throw anything that remotely puts a added wave into our water. We don't want it. We ain't dealing with it. And on top of that, there are things that are going to come, and when they happen, we don't want it. We just don't know what to do. But sometimes your groove is going to get a little bit of a disturbance. And you got to know how to come out of it, and you got to know how to see it through. You got to be prepared to be visible of where the other side is going to occur, when the other side will occur, and what the other side looks like. Actually, you know what? I got a better one. No. Hold on. Try to make sure my program ain't froze. Hang on. Okay, here we go. All right. Audition was having a moment. My bad. If y'all got that little brief silence, my fault. I got a good one. This is a good one for the year. This will end the year on a very, very, this is really like one that I'm always talking about, and this is one that I want people to really take note of going into the new year and ending 2021. Don't expect others to understand you when you don't understand others. Yes, it's gonna have another song reference, but it's really gonna make sense. French Montana did this song called What It Looked Like. The song is it's a song that you either gonna like it or you don't like it. Plain and simple. I'm hooked on that song because I literally can see how it's a song that fits what I'm thinking of with certain things. Because it always, when I say things like, if I say a message of, what does blah, 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 blah look like? That's what that refers to, or what it means. So what it look like? What does success look like to you? What does your future look like to you? And remember, it's to you. Other people are going to give their thoughts or opinions on it, but those are their thoughts and those are their opinions. And most importantly, that's their perspective. Everyone is allowed to have a perspective or have a different perspective. The challenge becomes understanding other people's perspective, because we want to understand people's perspective when we find it beneficial, which is never a good thing in having raw, real conversations. Because sometimes you're going to have to take that time to really understand. You have to be open to taking the time to understand where someone else is coming from or where someone else is delivering what they're saying. And if you're not in a space to receive or be that in that form, in that space of doing so, that's okay. But just understand that the conversations after that point aren't going to be as quote unquote A to Z as they normally would be, because you're not going into talks with people closed-minded is never a good idea. Plain and simple. But you have to know what comes with doing that. Like, you're not going to get good dialogue with people. You're going to miss opportunities because you didn't want to understand what someone else said or what someone else was saying. Like, my $1 million element, or my thing that I'm always honing in on now, and I'm really learning how important this is people are going to talk. Most people are talking because they want to be heard. And they just want someone to really take time and listen to what they said and understand what they were saying. But when we don't understand or don't listen to people, we just respond to whatever we think we heard. And then the person is without clear understanding of what they said. And that's never a good thing. So just take time and look at other people's perspective, other people's point of view. And take time to look more at what do things look like. And Dr. Tamara, I hope you're okay. This is coming from like a lot of your messages. It's saying, what does blank look like? Because a lot of things we really don't take time and look at what that looks like. What does planning look like to you? what does the end of 2021 look like for you? Are you happy with what you got done? Do you notice you have a lot more that you can get done next year? Are you pressed? Are your priorities in the right places? Those are questions you have to be able to ask yourself and be open to the answers to yourself. You don't need to ask it to other people because other people are going to give what they're going to give. They're going to give their perspective. But that's not what you want. You're going to need or prefer your own perspective on what you're needing. Now, if you ask someone, what do you think I should do with blah, 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 you're asking for their perspective. So they're going to give their point of view or their way of looking at it. And you, as best as you can, have to be open to it. It's not saying that you are required to be open to it, but it benefits being open to things. Because you can't sit and expect others to be open-minded to what you say, but you're not open-minded to other people. And if you're not open-minded to what other people are saying, then that means you're around the wrong people to talk to begin with. And that's a whole nother podcast. A whole separate algorithm by itself. But I digress. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all. I really hope that you got something out of this podcast. I know I've been like in and out on doing shows, but I'm definitely about to get the ball rolling again. We will probably be getting back on every Monday. I don't want to hard commit today yet because I need to see what my days look like. If I do that, then that means that it's going to be literally an early morning. It's going to be an early Monday grind of just get up and get it going. And if that's the case, then it is what it is. So that is all I have for you all. I hope y'all have an amazing week. You end 2021 the way that you would like to, and that you see 2022 like no one else deserved, and bring it in the right way. Don't bring it in the crazy way. If you don't need to go anywhere, keep your behind at home. And I didn't even go into that. Like, if you ain't got to be out, enjoy time to yourself. Enjoy your company, but you don't have to enjoy your company late. And that's really the gist of it. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy. The Past signing out. BT signing out. Peace. Hey, y'all, what's good? I wanted to do a quick recording because one important piece that I'm going to add in, this will be at the end of the show, of course, is that I want to kind of give a quick overview of what led to me putting the dedication back into getting into IT outside of getting the recruitment process set up, among other things. The biggest part or the biggest thing that helped me is, I talked about this earlier in the show about friends and family. One of my friends, we were doing a routine. My friend Mark, he's been on the show, Kaze. If you know, you know. Little big bro. So I'm still gonna get set up for those classes. I ain't forgot. But the raw reality is, he was one of the first people to get me into doing something that I really was a fan of, but didn't really realize how much I needed to do it more often, which was to walk and just kind of walk and talk and get some stuff out. We did a lot of pool sessions together. We had our kickbacks in that regard, but we did a walk specifically that practically changed how I thought of a lot of things. And here's what I mean by that. I was holding on to a lot of resentment and guilt from what happened to myself in regards to not having my job at Performance Food Group. And I guess it's good that I'm adding this now because this will kind of be like a semi-play on to where things are right now, even with where I'm at currently. But he and I would take walks. My other friend, May would join us sometimes as well along those walks, which, like I said, the walks were always a vibe. They were always great. Mark and I took a walk one day, and the conversation started about drafting or FanDuel, but it ended with me having to face a reality. And the reality was that the job that I was no longer employed with, that was in IT, it was time for me to let that go. And when you don't know what something looks like and letting something go, it can and it does become a little uncomfortable. It can become a little risky. It can become a little different. And in this case, there was no exception to that. But he kind of put it out there and telling me, like, you have to let this go. And I did talk about him earlier in the show, Dad, and I'm thinking about it. But the interesting part with this was I needed to let what I experienced with that position go, because as long as I was holding it, it was eating me inside to not be able to get to where I am now. So I give that walk a huge help in my journey, my transition, my flow, just a lot of things that in the moment it didn't seem like a lot, but in hindsight it was a much bigger deal than I expected. So I want to make sure I give that proper tutelage and or credit where it's due, because we sometimes don't realize where life leads us or what life is leading us to, but we know once we get to it, it's all hands on deck, and you are literally put in a position where you got to face it head on. So I definitely want to give him his props on that one. So I wanted to make sure I added that on as a added piece to the year review. So that's all. All right, y'all. Take it easy. Peace.